Whoa, 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 whoa. Oh, you know you can surprise. You know you can surprise. Oh, just let go and surprise yourself. Oh, ooh, oh, surprise yourself.
Thank you.
First of all, I would like to acknowledge some brilliance. I was driving home from Albuquerque a while back, and looking at the sky and the clouds and everything, and I sort of had an understanding of the universe and the air and our place in it and everything. And on the horizon there were some clouds hanging over the mountains as I was driving west on I-70.
I-40.
I was on the freeway between Green River and Moab, anyway, in there. And I was looking at, and there were clouds hanging over the mountain, and the sun was setting, and I had this little thought that in the contrast of the clouds, the sun was brilliant. It was absolutely gorgeous, and I've noticed that the sunsets without the clouds aren't so great. It just kind of goes down, you know. So it kind of, looking at that and thinking that, kind of tuned me into another dimension as I was driving. And I started thinking about our connection to the universe and the power that's within us. And so then, since then, I've noticed that performers, musical performers, they have this skill to use their voices or to do, handle the instrument, but there's something far greater than that, and that's the expression of the spirit that comes through that voice, or the expression on the pianos. And if you listen to that, you hear their spirit coming through it. Brilliant. You guys are brilliant. And I used to be a theater manager at Kearns High School, and they have a 2,000-seat auditorium, and so I was the person responsible to teach the kids how to handle the lights and the sound and all of that. And so I have an appreciation for Raj and Drew and what they do here. The sensitivity of how they handle the lights and how they handle the sound, and they're always on task. It's not the person up here that's on task, it's them. And they do a brilliant job. Thank you, guys. Okay, so our thoughts and our words. I do a lot of driving by choice and And very little of it's just because I want to. I do it, I mean, just because I have to. It's because I want to. Lots and lots of miles. My truck has 400,000 miles on it. It's in perfect shape. It is, really. And what happens while I'm driving is stuff goes on in my brain, thoughts. And if I am not careful, then I let the other drivers impact my thoughts. And I've had some issues with my middle fingers going up, and some stresses because I think that the road should be just for me and everybody should be out of my way. And it's just not always that. It's just not always that. On, what was it, Thursday? Was it Thursday? I think. Maybe it was Friday. I had come to Salt Lake. I live in Spanish Fork. And I had been in Salt Lake, and I decided to go home through Heber because it's a much prettier drive than going on I-15, and there's not the traffic. So I was doing that, and I got between the Park City exit and the Heber City. It was going up the hill, and the traffic all came to a stop. And we sat there, and we sat there, and we sat there. You probably saw it on the news. And I think it was Friday. And as I sat there, and everybody else is sitting there, I considered the options. You know, I could sit there and I could be stressed about it and say, I could have driven on the shoulder and gotten off. There's one little place I could have gotten off, but I thought it'll take me just as long probably to get home. So I sat there and I looked at the other cars and I thought, okay, so do we have a choice about what's going on in our mind? Absolutely. And so I decided to be fully present and enjoy not having to move. And I got to watch the sun. I took some pictures of the sun and how, it was neat, over the mountains. And I just enjoyed not having to be driving fast with all these other people. And I thought, I wish I could give them all that same message to just relax, because we couldn't do anything about it. And so what we could do something about was our thoughts, which led me to, well, I practiced my speech all week everywhere I went. And what I'm saying is totally different. But we have habits in our brains. And as we go about our business, sometimes we get caught up in negative conversation. Sometimes we're deeply in negative conversations, cursing the other drivers and being in a rush and other things. Probably that doesn't affect anybody in here, does it? So anyway, I decided that I have to get a grip on that and stop being so intent on the destination and being able to go with the journey instead, and to relax about it and stop the crazy monkey mind that was filling my thoughts. So what we know is there are two things. There's love and there's fear. So if I'm driving along and I'm swearing at the other drivers, I'm probably in fear. And we have a whole list of feeling words. I made a copy, one copy. You don't get to see it really, but these are feeling words. And so fear, of course, is one of them, but we have lots and lots of feelings. I'll just read some. Abandoned, afraid, agitated, alone, anxious, amused. That's the first sort of positive thing. The rest of them are all kind of negative, aren't they? Anticipation, anxious, apathetic, apprehensive, astounded, bad, belittled, blah, been out of shape, betrayed. All of those things probably can be tracked back to fear. What are we afraid of? Well, we have this belief in separateness. You're over there and I'm up here. So we're obviously separate, right? No, we're not. All right. So I mentioned going to Albuquerque. And I go there to a Tai Chi retreat. And it's like 4 days, twice a year. And I connected with that by going to the Big Sky retreat in Montana. And a woman named Carmen Brocklehurst does a 30-minute thing in the morning and a little movement thing. And so each year that I've gone there, and I started going there in 2010, and no, probably 2011. And so I've gone 7 years, and mostly because of her. And there's just a basic movement, and it's just this. She calls it rocking motion, and you kind of go up on the balls of your feet, and you move the molecules of air, or else you just wave your hands. So the choice is, do you feel the energy, or do you move your hands? And so in learning to do that subtly, and learning to relax my thumbs, and to relax my hands, and to do it in a state of relaxation instead of being stressed, I became aware that the molecules of the air are alive, just as the molecules of our body are alive. The only difference is that our bodies are more dense than the air. So that kind of opened up an awareness of the impact that we have. If I can move the air simply by doing that, isn't it true then that my mind and the words that I say are equally as impactful? And as a practitioner trained in affirmative prayer, where do our words go when we pray? When I was growing up, it was kneel down to the side of the bed and give our words to God. And now I kind of see it a little differently. I think it's all God. all of the air is God. All of us, we're God too. We have that within us. And so when I say a prayer and I release those words into the law, I'm releasing them into the activity of everything and expect it to manifest as what I said. Now that's a pretty awesome responsibility, because if you're praying for things that you don't really need or want or whatever, if it's just mindless, you're still having impact. Just like if you're driving down the road and your middle fingers get out of control, you're still having impact. You know? And the words in our brains that keep going on, that mindless chatter in our brains has impact. It comes out. So I caught myself having really a negative scenario going on in my head, and I consciously have, when I catch myself, I consciously stop it and replace it with positive things, and that's a challenge to you. positive self-talk instead of negative self-talk. Instead of saying, oh, I'm so stupid, I should... No. I'm so grateful for being able to think and speak and know. On Facebook yesterday, I saw a little thing, just one little post, and it said, try saying nothing negative for 24 hours. And see how that will change your life. How many think that might do something for you? It might. I haven't started my 24 hours yet. So. Okay. The two words, I am. The word am is a state of being word. The state of being words are is, be, am, are, was, were, and been. Any of those words are I am. So we're driving along and I am so angry. Well, yeah, guess what? You're making a command to the universe and you get to be angry. Or I'm so pleased. Yes, you get to be pleased. It sets up in the universe the exact thing that you're calling to you. That's a little harsh, isn't it? But it's true. So basically, it's probably not the first time you say it. It's probably, if you keep repeating it, that's going to show up in your life, in our lives. So I think it's really critical that we start to get responsible about what we think and how we express that. And the words are our choice. It's in our head. We can choose what we're doing there. Henry David Thoreau said, as a single footstep will not make a path on the earth, so a single thought will not make a pathway in the mind. To make a deep physical path, we must walk again and again. To make a mental path, we must think over and over the kind of thoughts we wish to dominate our lives. Sounds like I'm challenging you, doesn't it? We have a world that is in great support of the medical profession. It's one of our major industries. And with Science of Mind, we kind of have a little bit of a window of something that we can possibly do about the illness. And we know that speaking and thinking positively has a positive effect. So I have an elimination diet for you. Remove anger, regret, worry, resentment, guilt, and blame, and life will improve. Is it really that simple? It's worth a try. The other part doesn't work so well. Should I read it again? Eliminate or remove anger, regret, worry, resentment, guilt, and blame. Then watch your health improve. Okay. We live in a three-dimensional world. You know, there's space and form, dimensions, ups and downs, and you know, there's three dimensions here. And there's more than three dimensions. I have sort of erratic sleep patterns, and I wake up sometimes at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the morning, sometimes at 2 and again at 4, you know, anyway. So I have these interruptions to the night. And when that happens and I wake up and I'm wide awake, I get out of bed and I go in the other room and I sit down. And I've taken that opportunity to use that as a spiritual time. And so I sit there and I open my palms and I breathe deeply. And I go into a state of meditation, and sometimes I pray. And what happened because of that is I know that there is more. There is an intelligence in everything, and it is within us as well. And by the way we interact with it, we create our lives. And so when I discovered that, I have made it into, since I have discovered that, I have made it into my daily practice to sit and become one with that power, with that intelligence, and allow it to influence everything in my life. So all of that time that I planned for, I guess I could have talked for an hour, but it's time to it's time to close. And so I invite you to join me in prayer. So if you will breathe deeply with me, breathe in and out. Again, in and out, and in and out. And in this sacred space, we recognize the one divine intelligence that is the force of life within each one of us and each cell of our bodies. We recognize that and join with it now in word and attitude. And we claim for ourselves today a peace and a love and a compassion to carry it with us throughout the day and the week. And we know that those words that we speak come back to us in form. And so we are grateful for this knowledge, grateful for the love that exists in this room and in our relationships. We're grateful for the laws of the universe which fully support us. And together we join and give thanks for all of those things. In gratitude, I release these words into the law, knowing them to be so. And together we say, and so it is.